Well, there we go. I see the signal. We are red. So we're hot. We're live. Welcome, everybody. Good day to you all out there in America and beyond. With me is Eric the Hailer. I'll let him pronounce his last name if he wants to do that in just a moment. But this is what he goes by. And, that's the concentration focus point. We're going to be talking a little bit about this, that, and the other thing, America, and some of his views behind it and why they are his views. He's talked to many fascinating people. He's a speaker, lectures, tongue trip, sorry, but a speaker, lecturer, and more, an MC. He supports many different communities and people of different subject matters. So he knows people, he's talked to people, he's met with people, and we're going to let him go from there. Welcome, and Eric, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here, and I love live on Facebook.
Yeah,
I have to be careful. They don't. I'll try to talk in code if I say anything dangerous.
I think in the past 5 years, if they haven't punished me to the extreme of removal, they probably won't. And I don't know why, but Jordan Maxwell, a friend of yours, a friend of mine, once said, the louder the voice, the better and the safer you are. And maybe that's just the truth behind a lot of that. But who's to say? I don't know how you want to start off exactly, but I know you're seeing the big picture. What do you?
Well, that's an excellent way to start off. Jordan Maxwell. I mean, my God, when he said that to me, I thought, wow, he said, you have to share what you know, because that'll protect you. And because then you've already gotten it out, and it's done. The deed is done, and it actually protects you against being taken out. And so, I was all gun ho about getting my information out. He was a wonderful person, and a neighbor, and a friend, and a grocery customer, and then I got to work with him on panels, and I miss him. God bless him. He was a great guy. I learned a lot from him. He's one of the few people I know that got to navigate the Vatican Library. And what I'm really excited about is we're about to get access ourselves, believe it or not. That I think that the Vatican has been compromised, and we've taken control and gotten the gold back out of the tunnels. And, I've gotten many different, information from different sources. Dr. Charlie Ward is the guy who coordinated the 650 planes, the big C-130s, I think they are, where the nose goes up and you can put a whole bunch of junk in there. Yeah. So we're about to, a lot of people don't realize, my thing is, I just want to inspire people to look into reality and the nature of reality and what's really going on, because we think we're a country when we've been a corporation, and we think we got rid of slavery when we've been slaves to the banks all our life. We've been trafficked through our birth certificates on the stock exchange, and we didn't know that they made us the money, so it's impossible for us to be in debt. And we have all these sovereignty movements and American nationals and people talking about using 1099s to buy cars and houses and to get all your money, all your bank deposits back times 10, if you file a 1099B. And I tell people, don't believe anything I'm saying. Go look and go read the, Bankruptcy Act of 1933 and see, what happened. That, look on the back of your birth certificate and ask a stockbroker, how much you're worth on the stock exchange, because these things can be validated. And if you really listen to Derek Johnson, who's really putting it out there with the military codes and the executive orders and explaining to you that we've been under martial law, under the continuation of government, and the military is doing a sting operation, rounding up these Satanists that are, communists. Our country was taken over. They try to take our country over by a foreign, entity, the communists. There's good and bad people everywhere, and these people have been really don't care about the future of America, and they're trying to ruin it by bringing in, destroying and divide and conquering, like the Romans for thousands of years, the Roman edict to divide and conquer. So I just want people to question, when they say, it's madam time, and I love women, and I mean, but she's not a woman, it's like it's Kamal Arush, that it's an M2F, if you know what I mean. And it's just, people don't question these things, and they think Big Mike is really, just a big girl, but so I meet these people from Central Casting, and they show me their credentials, and they tell me everything I say is right. They say, you're right on the money, Eric. I work for them, and so I get validated, on the circuit, and people come up to me and tell me they've had, that they haven't signed their non-disclosure yet, and they're about to have a med bed appointment, and they're not, they don't even tell their best girlfriend, but they're telling me that they just want me to know that what I'm saying is right, that it's right on the money. And how do I know, and how do I, when you work in whistleblowing and sharing information, you meet others like you and that resonate with you and vibrate that same frequency. And you can tell when you look at my face and my mouth, I'm not lying, and I have no motives. I'm not selling anything. And I tell you not to believe me. I tell people, go look at what I did and see if you come to the same conclusion. I mean, you look at the masks that are rolling up and the ears that are not attached. First there's an earlobe, then there's no earlobe, then it's attached, then there's no hole in the ear, then there's, all these different things change, and people don't really notice. They're zombies, and they watch, baseball and football and sports thinking that it's actually real, that it's not controlled by the mafia and gambling, and I mean, it's entertainment. It's not real. It's entertainment. I mean, maybe the college games are real. Maybe that's why people love college games. I'm not sure. Maybe they're even taken over by mafia. But I always remember I did golfing and tennis and bowling, which is the three sports you really can't cheat in. And so I just want people to question reality, and that's who I am. And how I started this was I'm the guy who gave Jesse Ventura the FEMA camp information about the coffin liners in the 90s when I worked for the government, and I was questioning all these things I was finding, like empty prisons and civilian inmate handbooks and all these guillotines, and what do we need a civilian inmate handbook for, and then later I worked for the Department of Public Health, and when they started this pandemic, and because viruses have never been isolated to or proven to exist, and you have to go through Koch's postulate to isolate them, and they haven't, and you can't patent a naturally occurring virus, which they have, and you can go to atcc.org and buy any of these things, Zika and Ebola and coronavirus, for $283, I think it is, for a frozen milliliter. There's all these things that are patented, and it's by the same Rockefeller. When the Rockefellers came into education and medicine, they've ruined it for everyone, and they controlled it using petroleum-based products instead of natural products, and they made the education so they were teaching a communist agenda, really, and socialism, really, and which is really fascism and jingoism, and so people don't understand.
Fake news.
Pardon me?
It's basically the fake news. Different levels of different platforms of how to reach everybody and how to control the different generations of thought and patterns of thinking, by invoking into people subject matter that they needed to be put upon and placed upon our mentality and our social networks of how we work, of free energy of thought.
Yes.
It's pretty mind-blowing. And you're getting into it so much here, and I don't want to cut you off, but
right.
I just want to bring up some things like
that's an excellent point you bring up, because Clear Channel and BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street control all the media, and you can't get another, view. See, when I first started working media and advertising events, I had to call many different places because there was CBS and ABC and NBC and I had to call maybe 10, maybe 20 places, but now you call one place. You call one place and it's for all of them,
Yeah.
and little by little, they used to say like 6 to 8 companies own everything, and then it went down to 5 and 4 and then 3 and then 1, and then there was 1, because really BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are subsidiaries of each other, and
Right.
and so really they're one. And I heard that they've been taken over by the white hats, so I'm really happy about that. And and it's kind of obvious when you see the news that it's so obvious of what they put out there, and it's really just a big show to wake people up, because people are such zombies. They need to hear it from their own fake news, and that's why it's taking so long. And soon there will be an emergency broadcasting system on their phones, so everybody can get the same information and see it for themselves. They've made an 8-hour video they're going to be showing 3 times a day, and showing all the, not all the gross things, but what these Satanists do, because it's pretty gory details. If you
Yes.
Google frazzle drip and stuff, you'll see, so I mean, there's stuff on the dark web already released, but who goes there, and to see these things, and don't, because even the most long time working advanced investigators who are seeing this stuff are having issues and need therapy, because they throw up and they can't handle watching the stuff that they're finding on these people. So and it's not human. They're to
Right.
get crazy on you. I mean, we can talk about reptilians and Dracos, and but there's good and bad everywhere. There are good Dracos and there are good reptilians too, believe it or not. And so I think that the big bad ones have been chased out by the good guys, and there's a positive outcome to this. And I think this is the year of disclosure, that we're going to meet our star families and people that we thought were human, because really we're combinations of 24 different aliens, and we're really the best. We're like the royalty of the galaxy, because we're the best of 24 different aliens. That's why they can use our organs for 24 different aliens. That's why we can use a pig heart for our heart, because they're just like that. They had a UFO. I forgot what movie. Oh, it was Howard. I think it was called Howard. There was a pig who was an alien,
Mhm.
and see, these science fiction movies are soft disclosure, and really it's closer to the truth, and anything you can imagine it is possible. And they don't share uh, these things with us until 40, 50 years later. So
Right.
we're about to step into a Star Trek future with med beds, because when I first started speaking 12 years ago, I was learning about med beds through my friend Captain Randy Kramer, Captain K, and talking about his arm being bitten off by an insectoid, and then regrowing it in 4 hours with his exoskeleton suit in the med bed system. Well, this stuff is being talked about on regular TV, and Trump is talking about it on his speeches, that by the end of this year we're going to have a med bed appointment for free, and it's going to make us young again and perfect, and they won't be using Western medicine anymore. We'll just be going into this med bed, and they'll take the best slices of our DNA and make a new us, because we're not this soul. We're a soul. We're not this body, and this body can be changed, but our soul is eternal, and so this is a matrix, and these are meat bodies we're in, and there are many different timelines. I'm a pioneer speaker about many topics, and Mandela effect is one of them. And it took me, when I first learned about the Mandela effect, maybe over 8 years ago, maybe, I it took me a year just to figure out what was going on, because I knew that things were different, because I cried when Nelson Mandela died in jail, and when he became president of South Africa, and all these people went on Google to Google when Mandela died. That's why they coined it the Mandela effect, is because
Yeah.
there was a large spike of everybody asking the same question: when did he die? And that was the first time people realized we're not in Kansas anymore, and there are things that are different here that are not the same in the reality that we remember. We come from another reality that doesn't exist anymore. But see, that's the quantum nature of us. We're quantum beings, and we have memories of all these different timelines. When we sleep, we go visit these other timelines, and we're the soul that ties it all together. So we're moving into this quantum financial system, and we're moving into with a quantum phone. It's called a QG phone. You can Google that. And we're supposed to have like 2 terabytes of information to be able, and like the pixels are supposed to be like over 1,000 pixels, and for the photos, and the batteries don't die when you know, so, and it's much faster, and it's off planet. It's Starlink, and we're going to be using it for our bank and for voting, and it's going to be our DNA is going to be the password, so it'll be, you know, unhackable. No one can, you know, hack it. Nobody knows how much you have in your account. Only you can. You're your own bank, essentially. This is the
Yeah.
Star Trek future we're stepping into. Yes.
No, I agree with you on some of that.
Uh-huh.
A lot of it, like 99% of it. But and I'm not a person that's skeptical on things, but just a person that likes to discuss things.
Sure.
You shared a lot, you know,
Uh-huh.
guys. And if you're missing any of this and you're just stepping in, go back to the beginning and listen to it. I promise you, you'll understand why we're traveling amongst the stars here right now, because in a way we are. We're talking about different types of military laws that supersede above other laws, where immunity is granted to certain divisions of military and paramilitary. And those are things I can vouch for and know about. You brought up a lot of other things as well, you know, of things that are, you know, bad but good, and star seeds and so forth. So everybody, if you're just catching in, you're just grabbing it, like, share, send it to your friends, and also make sure you watch it from the beginning. I think you'll understand why we're taking this avenue of where we're going. This is all about positivity. One of the things, though, about the money thing, the birth certificate and the Social Security, the 1099B, and all these things like that, what we're really worth. I want to bring this up for a point of that I think is very important. Now, let's say that everybody got back $1 million. Their net worth is $1 million. What would that do to our economy? And how is this leadership to step in to handle something like that? Because if everybody has money, not everybody's going to really want to work. They're going to
Yeah.
demand bigger, better, bigger cars, bigger homes.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely correct. And see, why it doesn't work is because you're right. It won't work in this system because we're using a fiat currency that's not backed by gold. And that's why this system is going to have to crash before that reality can begin. And it has to happen when Biden is you know, not, you know, and you know, they can't have these same people that they think that are in power. They have to make the announcement that it's after the blackout, I think, that, but they're doing a BRICS currency reset, and they're crashing this fiat. You know, we've been using the petrodollar, and they stopped using the American dollar for petro several months ago. And also they're crashing the dollar by because it's not backed by gold. We went off the gold-backed system, I think, in 1971 under Nixon administration, but there are now 40.
Was emptied.
Well, there's 44 states now in America that are using gold-backed currency right now as we're here. So, and I have some of that money. It's actually gold leaf money, and it's beautiful. And see, this Nasara and Jasara is finally happening. And if you look, you can see the dinar is reevaluating, and they have the ZIG gold coin in Zimbabwe. And there's people who are talking about their humanitarian projects, and they're signing non-disclosures, but they're going through the process right now. But once you do that, you can't talk about it for several months because we're going to be running 2 systems at the same time. and trying to weed out and cash out the old system. So yes, you're absolutely correct. It would not work in that system. But in the new system, when you're using gold-backed currency and everybody's getting this so much money, you can't even give it to them. They have to put it on your phone in digital format. Then they're going to be gifting, and there's going to be a gifting society and people helping each other and making the world a better place. It'll be a more humanitarian, altruistic planet. So, that of course that will work. It won't be greed and everybody buying how many Mercedes are there and how many Rolls Royces are there and how many yachts are there, and how many people. Some people don't really want all those things. You got to remember, you got to take care of all that stuff and change the oil and whatever and clean the house and clean the mansion, So, it's too much junk.
With all that being positive, though, it still comes down to productive America.
Exactly.
Bringing back America through this new system into a better structure that's more, feasible for everybody. But it's also going to have to be complementary in ways, as you were saying, that there will be certain networks of people who are more generous to help other people who may not be of the same on the same level, to create a better balance for everybody. But at the same time, the ethic of work, the things that built America were the blood, sweat, and tears, who went out and came home at the end of the day, needed that shot of whiskey and that cigar, and put their feet up or soaked them in hot Epsom salts water. We need to keep some format of structure. So we have, farmers, we have cattle ranchers, that we have the things that we will need, because we can't live off air alone.
No doubt about it. That's why, but you have to remember, we have a Star Trek future, because they're going to have replicators that, Captain K has been talking about. I think he said he liked macaroni and cheese, and he said that pizza wasn't as good, but there's replicators and there's AI that does all these jobs that are the menial tasks. And already we have movie stars admitting that they use, like 4 or 5 clones. They said they can't get things done without their clones. And so there's positive AI doing things. And I think that we're going to be working with positive AI because this Q phone is actually off planet. And I think it'll be positive AI also, I think. So, and these are all just, what things I've researched. I could be wrong about everything. Who knows,
Well, I'm not, and I don't want to insinuate that you are in any way, because I got nothing but love for anybody who comes on that wants to have a great discussion. And I think we're, theorizing in the stars somewhere of some of these things. And, I do know who Charlie Ward is. I don't know him personally, except we are friends on Facebook. Well, we've made a couple comments to each other, but they've never, grown from there. I've never been on certain shows formats, and that's perfectly fine. Maybe it's because of how I talk, the way I think, or the way I like to question things, because I think the public deserves to know all sides of everything and be able to decide, as you said yourself, and you did say it, people must research the things to understand them. And if you don't follow them, you don't know. And a lot of people know that Charlie Ward was a bagman for certain countries doing certain things. Maybe and not always in the positive light of system. And now he's
he owned a McDonald's. He owned a McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I agree. I know. And they had to use, to get crazy on you. Dr. Michael Salla talks about the Ganymede treaty, the Ganymede meetings, and they had to take Branson and Musk and Jobs and Bezos. I think they took them. And they warned them. They said, we're using you guys because you have the best technology on the planet.
Right.
But if you guys aren't good, we're gonna clean slate you and purify you. Or I guess they get. And I think they did that to all of them. I think we have the new improved versions of all of them.
Maybe because even Trump made that same comment. He really did. He says, we got to outsource. We got to go to the best.
Right.
And now you're starting to see it, but the confusion of A&I technologies and creation, CGI, is also still part of that warfare, psychological warfare that we're dealing with from one side to the other. Like we're on this day, Q's saying and they're all going down. On this side, we're seeing coming from from the opposition. We'll say, and the confusion sets in. The divide grows, and at times it's like hard for people to grasp, and that's why social anxiety's never been higher than it's been to this point. People speeding down freeways, hundreds of motorcycles coming down, basically pushing cars out of the way in lanes of traffic for them to take over the highways. We see things like right now down in I think it's Aurora, Colorado, is just as one place, one of the gem cities, where there's support, and we're getting these vigilantes and Hell's Angels
Right.
to take on the Venezuelan cartel and mafia that's been allowed to come across the border and so forth. But we're seeing all this, and what's part of it is all true because we have no true media. All we have is like guys like you and me who are really trying to stay into the loop and within the loop of where the facts are. And sometimes I find myself having the hardest time of my life trying to answer questions when I do shows. And over the next couple of days, I think I got like 15 I'm doing, where I promised people as soon as the holiday was over, I was going to jump right in, get back with everybody, do what you're doing, talk about the things you're talking about, but also keeping the mechanism of the mechanics to where they're on a platform ratio where they're understandable on how they're fitting into the scenario of everything. I know you know a lot more than what you have said. And I don't know how far you want to blow the minds of American people right now, to be honest with you.
Well, let me tell you this, okay? When you said Colorado, I mean, if you're asking any question, the answer is simple. CIA. It all leads back to the CIA. Who's in Colorado? CIA. Where are they doing training? Who's doing training in Colorado? These training and these guys aren't really, these Venezuelans. If you watch the way they carry their guns and stuff, they're not really trained. And I was watching that last night, the videos, and seeing them. And the Hells Angels are going there, and you don't mess with the Hells Angels, okay? I'm a crazy guy, and I rode motorcycles, and I learned in LA on the freeway. And the only people crazier than me were the Hells Angels, and it's like I thought they had a death wish, okay? But you don't mess with them, okay? And I have a card. If I'm ever in trouble, I have a card that is from Hells Angels that'll get me out of trouble, okay? So they're going to get us out of trouble, and you don't mess with America. I mean, there's grandmothers that know how to use guns. Everybody has a gun, and that's why they're so worried, is because we're all armed, and I mean, I don't need a gun, but America has more guns, especially California, and so they're messing with the wrong people, and they're really trying. This Democratic Party has teamed up with communists, and they're trying to take down the country by infiltrating it with these illegal immigrants that are released from prisons. I mean, you got all these terrible criminals being released. So now the countries that they're coming from are experiencing, really wonderful times without their criminals, and their crime has gone down, and they're having a great time, So it's kind of funny. I mean, it's a terrible, black humor comedy, but it's going down. We got this under control, and there's an operation that we're going to have the fastest deportation. I'm telling you, those walls, I mean, it was really a trap, and I think it's really high tech, those walls, and that they can tell you in real time where every single person is that has crossed that border in real time using Starlink. I mean, because our biometrics, we are the cell phone towers, and we have biometrics that can be tracked from, this Starlink, and they know where we are, and we can track everybody. And you'll be amazed how fast we get rid of these criminals, because that they're trying to bring down the country, and if people aren't waking up to this and just watching their sports, they're going to get it through their phone, through the emergency broadcasting system soon. So, be prepared with extra food and water, and be able to, be camping, be a good Boy Scout and have your camping stove and ways to heat up food and have extra water or water filtration if you live by a river or lake. Because we might have to, they're going to try their best. They're going to give an all out last ditch effort, because we're at the end game now, because we have all these, white moose and white buffalo, and, all these prophecies are of the end times are here. What more do you need when you see the pink dolphin and all these, things happening, and you're seeing species that you haven't seen before. And, we're on a new timeline. I think we're on a new positive timeline. I think we're going to be going through the largest mass awakening of humanity ever in history of mankind. And I look forward to it, because I've devoted my life to shaking people up and waking them up and trying to realize that there's aliens, and I've met them, and I've traveled there. I've been to the moon. I've seen things, I've talked to aliens, and I'm not hallucinating, and I'm not, and I tell people, don't believe me, you're going to see it yourself, because you can't explain, I went to Switzerland to meet Billy Meyer. I went to all these different places to, meet these
That's
people.
one hell of a
And
story there. The people don't know about the Billy Meyer story. I
yeah,
mean,
I went to Switzerland.
you can't make up evidence like that was put in
Yeah.
front of the world, but yet people learned to suppress it, and people did documentaries. People opened up the can of worms again. Great people out there that really did do that. And then you have people like Carrie Cassidy. She's a national treasure that people just don't realize who she has interviewed and who she spent hours upon hours in hotel rooms with the greats, the whistleblowers, that and she has so much to offer. And she was opening up when people thought she was nothing but ridiculously nuts. But now they're saying how right she was. Everything that she was bringing forth is now coming to fruition, even for her. She was on the right track for whatever reasons. And she's taking us to a new place and position on how we think and what our ideologies are on how we think. And I just mention that because she's a fascinating woman. She truly is. She's done her due diligence for all of us in many ways, and you as well, bringing up the many different topics of subject matter. And I even put that into the title. I didn't know where we're going to go, what we're going to talk about. I know we're talking about America, but we're talking about the problems in America, but the truth behind the problems. And we're going to have them, like, especially when you get into the deep state military industrial complex of what they're doing, why we're seeing things that we're seeing, what the creativities of and how they work, where the possibilities of who shared them all, who met who on Holloman Air Force Base, and all these different things that collaborate all this information. It is biblical in ways that I see it, but I think they want to see an old world of something that once existed while we're traveling to the new experience through the stars of what will happen. And, whether it's from the stars of Hollywood or the stars in music, everybody somehow, some way, from the white hats to the black hats, has been in this fight and argument to get the information out. And as you say, now is going to be the point in time in your mind where all this is about to happen, and the changes will come, and they're going to be fascinating and mind-blowing for people. How do you suggest people adjust to something this enormous? Do you have any suggestions to this? I should have expected that, but I'm sure it was just an error. Maybe one of us touched the wrong thing. I know it wasn't me. Anyway, I'm on with Eric the Healer. And if you don't know him, he's a speaker, lecturer, MC. He puts communities together, events together. He knows people we could only wish we could rub elbows with. And he's coming back in now. So I'm sure it was just almost like you could say it was an AI typo. Glad to have you back, brother.
Yeah, it's good that you're. I heard you cutting out, and then I was wondering if you were getting me frozen. And then when it said there was a problem, I'm glad I'm back, and And it's just funny. It was said 33 minutes, and I was thinking, oh, 33.
Everything's 33 revolutions, hypnotics. Yeah, I mean, the record's 33. Yeah,
Yeah,
the number 33 is very important. People don't
yeah,
realize it. You know, same with names and changing of names of the guard of the rebrandings. You know, like Columbus, Columbia Records, Columbia
right.
Movies, Universal. I mean, when you get into all this, it goes back to who the solidarity really was that came out of all 52, these silent but deadly people that we've been fighting against. You know, it's just
Yeah, Columbia is the bullseye. I mean, you hit it right there. It's I guess it's the Collins family that
yes,
America was Columbia and it was the Collins, and there are these 13 dragon family bloodlines, and I knew that our family was one of these bloodlines. And growing up, I heard stories, and I didn't understand fully, but I always listened to what they were saying. And later they told me that, Eric, we're not like them. And when you get older and want and understand this more, I want you to know that, they would kill us if we didn't follow. We had to just lay low. But there's a prophecy that one of us is going to clean all this up. Is that you, Eric? Because the other two guys are gone now, and you're the only one left. So I always knew somehow, I was the policeman preacher or whatever. But why wouldn't you want to make the world a better place? You
and
know,
just to say this, sometimes the voice is the most powerful weapon that you can use on anybody. It's stronger than
yes,
a bullet and a gun,
yeah.
and you're
Especially when you
doing it.
speak from your heart. When you speak from your heart, you slice through the bullshit, and your tongue is a sword, and your eyes become a laser. And the more truth you say, the more powerful your words become. And that's why I always get upset with my friends. I get frustrated when they don't do what they say. When they say they're going to be there at a certain time and then they don't follow through, it makes their words less powerful. And I say, I don't care if you're going to be late. Just say what time, and do it that time. Follow through on what you say. Otherwise you make your words weak. And
Right.
see, really, we're manifestors, and we have to, and that's what they're so scared about, is us waking up to our higher powers of manifestation and visualization, creative visualization, and waking up our higher powers. Because our sixth sense is psychic ability, but our seventh sense is time travel and levitation. And we're manifestors. We can visualize and manifest, many things, and out of the etheric, and using plasma, because they took the ether off the periodic table. Ether was part of the elements, and they don't want us to know about the ether, and they don't want us to know about our powers, and who we are, and that we are being used, with mind control, and these smartphones and the smart meters, and the smart everything is not smart. It's dumb. And they talk to each other, and get all this information. And no human can look at all this information. They have to use AI to look at all these terabytes of information. And we don't realize that we're the cell phone towers. An excellent person I always tell people to look up is Sabrina Wallace. She's really awesome. You won't see her good videos on YouTube, but you got to go on Odyssey or Rumble and listen to Sabrina Wallace on Odyssey.com. And she'll talk about how they use us as cell phone towers, and how the phones communicate with, and take, if you have an iPhone, it's scanning you every 5 seconds. And these smartphones are using, biometrics, and affecting our spirit. We're soul, and we're electrical magnetic beings.
Yes.
And
Made up
it's
of minerals and water, and people don't
yeah,
really look at it. When a person looks at a person, they don't look at what is our true
right.
makeup. We may be different from a rock or a tree, but that's because we are the uniqueness of Mother Earth. We really are. And we exist in this plane in a way, if you really try to think about it, as an impossibility with possibility of realities, because it's a factual truth. To think that we could be made up of these little fragments, but yet we have such beautiful appearances, and everything is different. And everyone is different, which makes us all special. But it's hard to believe when you really look at the general makeup of how a human is a human. And that's why I think that transhumanism and all that stuff was all taught, to women especially. And I talked about this just an hour ago on another show. I was on the show with the Bull, and what me and the Bull was talking about was me. It was more or less me, overpowering the conversation as I stupidly do at times. Apologies, Bull, in case you're watching. And Jenny in the car show, I'll be on with you 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Thanks for listening in. I appreciate it. Everybody watch that. If you can, it'll be on my page. As soon as it goes live, I'll share it there for everybody. But when you look at the things of how conditioning works, and it's within everything, education and more, it just grows and grows and grows. It's a commonality. It's a spiritual breaking of everything and divide. But when you have somebody that is creative through a long game, but with a short process of gain, you can have women who they get, fake nails, fake butt implants, fake boobs, fake hair. They grow into this own transhumanism system. They don't even realizing by doing what they're doing, how they're taking away from the beautifulness of what creation really is, because they're looking for a different adverse effect for what it'll do for them instead of what they can do for humanity. And by doing it, yes, there are some things that make you more beautiful. But these enhancements were part of how we are now getting more sophisticated. And when we look into the movies and cyborgs and everything else, it was just conditioning in ways to get public always used to something. Getting the lips blown up, getting the tummy tucked, having plastic surgery on stomachs, on faces, on eyes, on cheeks. These healing beds will be a process of why you will never have to worry again. And
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because, it's a factual truth. We know they exist, and we know that they were using frequencies even in the pyramids. There was evidences of damages that showed high energy damage to some of these beds. They weren't tombs. They were actually like old school energy beds. I think Billy Carson even talked a little bit about that because I go back 5 years where I'm talking about a lot of these things, like the young lady you mentioned that has the show on Rumble or whatever you were stating. What was her name again? Because we'll give her
Sabrina Wallace. I love
Wallace.
Billy Carson too. He's great. I love Billy.
Yeah, well, Billy is a very stern speaking person, and mark my words, as he says on some things. But I don't disagree with him, but I'm glad finally there's a voice that's being listened to that's objective for people to say, look, this is what I am theorizing and analyzing for everybody. You accept it, or you go do your own research and tell me if I'm wrong. So he does put challenges on to people. I mean, he's the man with the sword. I do try to follow him as much as I can. He's put on some great forbidden knowledge, and I seen where Brad won the Mercedes and stuff. And Brad's such a wonderful person. He's got a gigantic heart. I've had the pleasure of having him on the show with me. Now you and many. So tell me about so people understand who you're. Tell me about some of the people that you have actually helped through some of the speaking engagements and emceeing that you've worked with.
Brad came to us in 2015, or I think 2015, 16. I'm not sure. I met him in Berkeley, I think. And he came to our Berkeley show, and I met him and started working with him and speaking with him. And, working with Saeed, I mean, we help many people start, practice and improve their public speaking skills. I took public speaking in college, and in high school even. And it was my favorite class. And it really got me out of my shell, from being kind of shy to, but really I was always standing on the soapbox talking about aliens or crazy stuff. So I really became a speaker a lot earlier. And I was a tour guide at like 7 for my grandparents coming and visiting us in a foreign country, and I grew up in Iran. And so, I was always doing something like that. But helping Laura Eisenhower, she used to speak really fast and because her mind works so fast, and she slowed down and and I watched all these people blossom working with us and speaking, and getting on stage. I'm helping people get on stage, and I'm working with some new people right now. They're asking me if, it's really difficult. So depends on who you work for, and how much. Some people are really taking advantage of speakers when they're starting out. They pay thousands of dollars to some of these people that are running conferences, and I don't know how they get away with it, but I didn't pay, and I always helped and worked out, and so I was just lucky to start. I think I started with Dr. Leonard Horowitz, and then from there I went to I hooked up with Saeed, and remembered that when I met Saeed in 2013, and the first time speaking on stage, I realized that he's the same guy I was seeing at UFO conferences in the 80s, that we were already friends. So we were laughing, and so we started doing the conferences the way we wanted to do them, where people could actually get closer to the speakers, and actually talk to them, and have dinner with them, and interact. The best conferences are really out after the conference by the pool, and where we say what we couldn't say, and
Yeah.
because we're worried about losing our YouTube links, and getting strikes from YouTube, and I say, why don't we just go to Truth Social and not get strikes, and so there's all these. You have to navigate the waters of the speaking world and not get tricked into paying thousands for being a speaker, because already you're going to pay for your hotel and traveling expenses to get there, and then there's the food, and I'm so lucky. I've been doing this for over a decade, that I have people that want to pick my brain, and so they try to get to take me out to dinner, before anyone else asks, so they can pick my brain and have fun, and it's always a fun. I really enjoy being recognized, and I love being appreciated for. I don't mind sharing all my research and helping people, inspiring them to see the same things I do, because it's a really interesting world, and I love my world, and I love um, being a hero, and doing the best I can to help humanity be a better place.
Yeah.
And I get feedback from positive aliens that they like what I'm doing, and they keep doing what I'm doing. And there's I met Q, and he's a real special person that has a lot of love and compassion, and it's real. And I knew about him in the 90s, and I know that there's a sting operation going on, and I've met world leaders that were time traveling, and I didn't realize it at the time, and it took me years to realize it, because I hadn't met them before, and I didn't know they were a lot older than they were supposed to be. But later, when I saw pictures of them, I realized that I met the time traveling people, and I think and I always question all my life, why me? And I think it's because I'm related, because even though I say I'm Iranian, I'm really Armenian, which are the Druze, which are the Merovingian bloodline. They're all related. That's why they were trying to kill them, because they were trying to kill the family of Christ. And so I think I heard the story that Trump was visited by Pleiadians in 2017, and that he really became a man of God and changed for the better. Because all my life I tried to connect with him, and I really didn't like that personality of that person, that his "you're fired" and all these shows, and but maybe it's really what I didn't like about myself that I saw in him, because we always have to question what triggers us. But I fell in love with him when I met him, and later I realized that I met Trump from 2017, because 7 years ago I saw some pictures of him from 1985, and I saw he had a full head of hair, and I was like, whoa. uh, the Trump I met had a bald head, and he grew his hair really long on one side and laid it over. And I was thinking, well, what happened was, I was working at the Plitt Theaters in Century City in 1985, where Back to the Future was playing. and the movie just started, and I came out in the lobby, and I saw a man standing there, and I quickly looked to see how this guy got in, because I knew there were no tickets being sold, and this guy sneaked in. There was no way he could have got in. I was just about to kick him out or check his ticket, and he said, "Eric, do you recognize me?" And I looked at my name tag to say, how does this guy know me? I looked at him. I said, "Wow, you're Donald J. Trump." He said, "I'm really impressed you recognize me," because he was traveling from the future, but I didn't realize it at the time. He said, "I'm going to be president in the future." And I laughed. I said, "Yeah, I want to be president too." I said, "But it's a low level of consciousness." And he laughed too. He says, "You're right." But then he got serious quickly and looked at me and said, "But we have to use these people to get where we're going." And when he said that, I thought, wow, I'm going to go work for the government and the state, which I did 7 years later, and figure out what the hell's going on as a whistleblower. And I did. So he said, "Do you have time to talk?" The movie just started, so I had some downtime, and we had a seat in the theater. We had a Ames museum chair. It was a black leather rectangular chair. And so when he sat down, I saw the top of his head was bald. Excuse me. I saw he was bald, and I knew that he read my mind, because I was thinking, why don't you shave that shit off? And he read my mind and said, "You do have nice hair." And I was like, oh no. So we talked for over an hour about bringing down the deep state and the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the two constitutions, and how to, find the bad guys. I said, follow the money, and how to wake people up. I laughed. I said, you can't tell people anything. They have to experience it for themselves. They have to see it for themselves. And that's why this is happening, is because this is a big show to wake people up to see what's really going on, what they had planned for us to bring down our country. It was treason and sedition and crimes against humanity. And we've been having military tribunals, and many people have been executed already. And the many people we think are dead are alive, and many people we think are alive are dead. Yeah. So we're about to have everything turned around, and it's going to be the biggest grand mass awakening of humanity ever in the history of mankind. So I'm trying to just relieve a little pressure and inspire people into looking into some of this, so they won't be in such a big of a shock when this happens very soon. So it's always better to not wait for the grocery stores to be empty. I'm not saying go stock up on toilet paper. I'm saying go buy a bidet and wash yourself. So anyway, just to be funny a little, I don't like to be gloom and doom and fear porn. I'm looking forward to we're going to be celebrating for over a year when this stuff is done, because we've been fighting this for a couple thousand years, and it's not just America, it's all around the world. And there's been a grand corporation, a network of underground tunnels that they've had to clean out. And you can say, when you look at these underground explosions, and they're always the same amount of kilometers, they're taking them out. And
I know. See, that's the whole. This is what you're talking about. I will never disagree with, because I have actually, I just know, and I've been to the gates of hell. And I'm not talking about a place of satanic, right, of a place afterlife. I'm talking about where shit like that really happens. Yeah. And like you, I say, why me? But you know what? People, to understand, seeing is believing. It's that guarantee that gives them more comfort. And I think it was analyzed and looked upon as, we have to have Trump lose in front of the world. We have to let the steal be shown to the rest of the world. Yes. We have to and all these things have taken place against this man as he was trying to do something better, but knowing that they were going to do it, they had to let it happen. And now it will be the greatest show on earth, as as who would always say that? The greatest show on earth. Come on, you know who I'm talking
Right.
about.
Barnum and Bailey.
No, well, maybe that's where Jordan got it from. But Jordan would say to me at the end, it will be the greatest show on earth.
Right.
And, you know, and he had his ideas about how things like that were and why they were and symbols. But I tell you, he taught us a lot. He opened up at least my mind many, many years ago. You know, we weren't all talking about things like this. This was too taboo. You know, people don't want to understand it. But if they understood how much is really going on in the world and how so much further ahead things in the world really are, I do worry about some of them being, what's the word I'm looking for? Gosh, it's not with me right now. That's the part of when you're halfway to 70, you know, but it's bigger than halfway to 70. Compromised, I guess you would say, in ways that we may only be knowing certain amounts of technology, while there is a force on Earth that has further succeeded to have a more elaborate technology system. And we were talking on the phone a little earlier before we went live, and then we talked on the phone last week. It was pretty nuts too. But you know, I do worry about that part of the system of how strong are they, but how strong are they? And as you explained to me, you know, you're looking at something that's 25 miles in diameter, and you know, the sophistication speaks for itself against a little orbish light that has the ability to, you know, cut through space and time. But,
Yes.
you know, with all that going on, I do want to address something here from a friend of ours. Craig Peterson says, I was just watching an interview of Lex Friedman with President Trump, where President Trump said he would release all the information on JFK's assassination and all the information on the government on UFOs. And I believe that that's probably true, because in ways when he talks about the big guy. But then he comes back to the reality of where people in America are, and then he uses different terminologies. But one of the things I think that even on the right, the Harris team that has come together now is fair warning people of the 950-page document. Now, if they didn't know factually something was going on, they would have no real awareness of what is inside this 950-page document that they talk about. And as an example, one of the ways that Trump will attack Social Security on all the hardworking people. And that's truly not true. What Trump wants to do, and was very specific, as you were very specific in saying, it needs to be taken back from the people that they're giving it to that came across the border. So they tongue twist everything. They theorize everything as to how it'll work on us, but we're all seeing through it because we're analyzing their words, and we've learned to come to that part of download consciousness awakening. That you hear it, you download it, you regurgitate it, you rinse, wash, repeat, you regurgitate it again. And then all of a sudden it's like ka-ching, the light goes on, your consciousness rises, and here it is. You know how to agree with it or disagree with it, depending upon what you want to believe. And some people won't have the strength to believe with full certainty, but we'll get them. And that's what we're doing today. We're trying to get the people to open up their awareness of people's minds, not because we want you to believe in UFOs, not because we want you to believe in Bigfoot or Dogman or Rakeman or some other deep, dark thing that goes on underground that they play and practice catch and release with, just to see how it reacts through their biotechnologies of DNA and mixtures. But, you know, we're trying to talk to you about how America can be won back, that we are the cure. And if we stand strong and firm in our beliefs, that will raise our awakening abilities to be the cure for what will happen next. But with this coming, because I have other comments saying, what makes you think that they won't try to retaliate? Like these people that are left, the ones that may be alive, not dead, but are dead, not alive, they're just not going to hold out their hands and say, okay, you got me on crimes on humanity. I guess I'm heading to Gitmo. You know,
no doubt about it.
But they're gonna stay in this game until the last moment, won't they?
They're going to make their last best ditch effort, and only the minions are left, but the ones we see are all central casting. And I think Prince is playing Kamala, and Michael Jackson's playing Pelosi, and Arthur Roberts is playing Biden, and I forgot Teresa Barnwell or something is playing Hillary. And, it's all, you can go look at their actors guild card, and it says it right on there. They're playing them, and you can see their masks, and you can see it roll up, and it's just funny to me how people don't see it. And I'm biting my tongue sometimes and not speaking out. I don't want to lose some friends that that I see at the dog park, and they know that my views. I mean, they're all, they don't realize that they're, they think they're, good Democrats, and but they don't realize, what they're saying, what they're standing for. And I've said I've had to speak up a couple times, but then sometimes you have to bite your tongue. You can't tell people anything. They have to see it for themselves. They have to realize it themselves, and all you can say is, I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. And, I hope I inspire you somehow to look into what I'm talking about. That's all you can say. You can't, fight, and you can't pour it in them, or knock. Maybe you can juggle the pituitary pineal gland, and break that calcification, and wake them up, open their third eye somehow. But I mean, I'm just joking. Seriously, they have to see it for themselves. Experience is the best teacher. But if you can learn from someone else's experience, it's much better. If you can be open-minded enough to look at other realities and ways of thinking. So yeah.
You mentioned some names that were very interesting. I don't know if you heard of a young lady named Linda Durham.
No, I'm not sure.
Okay, this might be something that we need to talk offline about, to be honest with you.
I have to look her up, because sometimes I'm bad with names.
JFK stolen identity.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
JFK stolen identity.
Oh.
Are you aware of JFK, the book Stolen Identity?
No, I'm not.
It talks about some of the people's names that you just brought up and put in place that somebody is trying to expose to the rest of the world, of experiences from within the families of some of the highest ranked people, like the Queen, Lady Gaga,
right.
different elements of people, who they are, Donald J. Trump himself, whose children belong to who had a child.
Oh, wow. I guess that's where all the information came from, because I have all the information. I've heard it that maybe they got this information from that book. I'm glad you said that, because I'm aware of all the information of what, Donald Trump is really the son of General George Patton.
Correct.
He's David Patton. And so that's what's biblical, is he's King David, because supposedly he's married to Princess Diana, who's now Queen Diana.
Yes.
So and the childbearing.
Much is mentioned about that. Much is mentioned about artifacts, special rings, special things.
Right.
Onassis family, the money, who actually controlled the last will and testament of all the money.
He's alive. All the Kennedys are alive, I think, still. John F. Kennedy, the senior, who was supposedly assassinated in the 60s, I met the French nurse that took care of him on an island for 3 years. And she told me, Eric, I'm about to go off the grid, and I'm afraid they're going to kill me. And I just want to tell, you're the perfect person to tell this to, and she was French, And so what's funny is, when I went to a conference a couple months ago, one of my friends, I stayed with this couple, and my friend's wife was a nurse, and she worked with her, and she told me the same story, and my mouth dropped. And I said, stop right there and let me finish the story. And you haven't said this, but your friend is French. And she told me the same story. So I had verification from her. Oh no, I'm sorry. I knocked over my tripod. Yeah, definitely. I gotta get that book. But I've actually
I
met.
send you some things, right? There's no doubt about it.
Yes,
As well as introduce you to some things that might be able to help you better analyze some of how and what you know and compare your notes to
that'd be
certain
great.
people.
That'd be
Because I
great. And
think it's a matter of importance that we try to understand this the best we can. Because we talk about a lot of things, but people look for certainty of truth and fact with transparency, but they want the cold, hard facts to it all. And I've tried to do that. I've tried to intersect and interject to people some of these things that were going around, because if they knew the factual truths about some of them, they probably wouldn't question a lot of what they think they know, or think that what they don't know that isn't factual. And again, that's that commonality of divide and conquer that wins for all when they have an ability to fight us and keep us complicit in ways by letting us think that we're in the winning game when we're truly not. Because there are periods of times in the last 4 years, especially, but more like the last 8. And if you go back and really think about it even further, it goes to a whole different administration, which was the Joe Obama administration, Obama and Joe and Hillary, which are the biggest crime syndicate in America. If you look at what was really going on in Arkansas and with the governor, and they had so much money coming in, they couldn't open up private wallets to hide it in. And it goes that deep and beyond the significance of the structure that they put together that basically guided young children and humanity into basically hordes of problems. And they didn't mind doing it. And one of the other things that I look at, how things get delivered, it wasn't just conditioning us. I believe in my mind that these people that are no longer here are the ones responsible for putting people like Obama and Hillary and all these people through a different type of training system of teaching to how to handle public in scenarios. And they're taught differently, like Skull and Bones. It's all about, a commonality of a system, but purposeful within a system for what the agenda is deemed upon. And, that's how we see it. That's why there was Project Montauk, and it exists all over the world. And some people say it's not factual. It's not true. I can guarantee you it's true that these things were going on. The same as the kids in the colleges and the government money giving grants to colleges, preparing these kids to go out and destroy America. They don't come out of nowhere. They were preparated through an agenda of our own government and through government monies and representatives called Soros and more and better. And they were the State Street. They were the Vanguard. They were and we watched it. Even if you look at
Klaus Schwab.
Yes, without Klaus. Yeah, I can't even say that name without not getting a puke burp in my throat.
Yeah, they've been taken care of. They've been, and Soros is the other one.
Soros.
They've been taken care of. They've been taken care of, and it's the minions are left, and it's hard to drain the swamp, and we got to hang in there, and it's almost over. There's only so many moves they can make, and they've been trying to start a war with Iran, and Iran knows better, and we're working with the good guys in Iran, and they're working with the bad guys in Iran, and the truth's going to come out, and nothing can stop what's going to happen, and people will wake up and see it for themselves, and they're going to be really having to take a deep breath and swallow a large horse pill, because it's hard to. Yeah, well, they're gonna ivermectin's, I guess, a small pill, I think, but they're gonna realize,
pill,
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying a large horse pill, those big vitamin horse pills, that they make. it's a hard horse pill to swallow, because it's when you've been fooled all your life and you thought everything was a certain way, people get mad because they don't want to rethink everything, everything they know and thought was the way they were.
Yeah.
And they get out of their comfort zone. And it's an uncomfortable feeling not knowing, what, and I watch their faces, when I share, and they want me to stop and slow down, and they can't handle it, and I have to pause and wait for them and to just get a hold of themselves. It's just funny to see people, and I tell them, I'm one hit shit. You can only take so much of me. I don't want to blow your mind and have your head explode. And, I understand where you're coming from, and I don't want to upset anyone, but
Well,
these things are, yeah.
I think the ones that are awake are aware. I mean, because I've been on
Yeah.
shows with some guys that don't really have a big voice, but I'm an opportunist where I want to give opportunity to people, where people's voices matter to me, what they think. And we talked about things like The Matrix and the Roddy Piper movie with the sunglasses. When you put them down, you see one thing. It's like the Mandela effect, as you were bringing it up. It wasn't he actually a president felon? What about the monocle that was taken off the Monopoly game? I mean, we see things in different stages change, and change was being taught to us if we were observant enough to understand that all these things have a commonality. They all lead to the same thing, same reasoning, and for the same type of outcome. And it was two battles going on through Hollywood, the Pentagon, money, movies, industries. It's been a battle, as you said, that goes back thousands of years, and it truly does. So let me go back let's go back thousands of years. Who the hell's planet is this?
That's an excellent question, because when you look at our DNA, it doesn't occur naturally, our DNA, okay? How is it possible that monkeys have 48 chromosomes and we only have 46? But see, we do have those extra 2 chromosomes, and they're actually monkey genes. They're Rhesus monkey genes. R-H-E-U, or Rhesus, R-H-E-S-U-S, I think, monkey. And they were the ones that when they groomed each other, they looked at each other in the face. And when they had sex face to face, not doggy style like the monkeys usually do. Okay. So these Anunnaki, Sumerians, Babylonian times chose these monkeys to fuse. They fuse those genes into our 2nd and 3rd chromosomes, which doesn't occur naturally. So we have those 2 extra genes fused into our 2nd and 3rd chromosomes. So even though God created our DNA, it was tinkered with. And so let's just say God created some DNA, and those DNA created us. But really our DNA has the God code, and they gave us that God source code. And that God gene is the same gene that is responsible for critical thinking. And it happens to be the same gene that is attacked by this mRNA gene therapy that they called something else. Okay. Yeah. And so you have to go to howbadismybatch.com and type in your lot number, because the beginning ones were saline. But it turns out there is a bioweapon, and there is a patent you can read what they wanted to hide from us for 75 years. But through the Freedom of Information Act, it was really forced to be released. Yeah. So you can learn about what's really in it. And it's a military grade bioweapon that you can detox using NAC, which is acetylcysteine, and it helps your body produce glutathione to detox the heavy metals. And you can also use EDTA chelation to detox the heavy metals. And it's also wonderful to take baths in baking soda and borax, 20-multene borax, and sea salt. Sea salt is the 3rd one. Pardon me?
How do you feel about the greens? like greens, natural greens.
Okay, when you eat, meaning eating greens, greens are excellent, but you got to do moringa and spirulina and chlorella to correct the DNA and also detox the radiation, because moringa is an excellent way to detox radiation. But the chlorophyll and the blue-green algae are excellent superfoods. I'm all into superfoods and all about it. You can live alone on these superfoods, and really we're divine beings that lived on plasma. When we eat food, we get the plasma from the food. Really, we don't get but we don't get the nutrients we think, how it works. It's really the energy, the plasmic energy. We're plasmic beings, and we get the plasma from the food, and that's why it's good to have live raw food and to feed our spirit. Organic is good, but biodynamic is much better, because you're feeding your soul, you're feeding your spirit. It's a better, there are breatharians that live on plasma, that they don't eat, they breathe correctly. See, we don't breathe correctly. We just inhale and exhale. We don't pause. We forgot.
Takes place and how we forgot things and so forth. But hey, look, if you guys didn't catch a lot of what we talked about, we've been all over the board with a lot of things. And it goes into a huge format of a lot of different things. So I hope that everybody can, go back, watch it from the beginning, and I'll definitely have Eric back on. Again, Eric's a man that plans events with people. He's a speaker, a lecturer. He's been doing it for many years. He taught people how to speak. He's got them in front of people, lecturing on their books and so forth. When people are a little bit timid, trying to give them positivity and energy and focus points of some of the best that you see out there, that you watch, that you've heard on some of the biggest shows in America. He is partly responsible and rubs elbows, so to speak, with some of these people. He's a very fascinating individual. So we'll give him another minute to see if he can come back in for a few minutes with us. If not, we'll just create another show. We'll just do it out of thin air. The reason why thin air works better is because they don't catch me as much that way. So, and right now I have a lot of shows coming up. I'm going to be on tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock. Oh God, I really do have a list of things, where people like to ask me questions, and I don't hold all the answers. I don't. I just try to put value points across that help people in a way to where it opens them up, opens their mind up, and keeps them consciously more aware of things. Because we are, as we all know already, that we are a cure, and we can make things better within America, for our children, and, start to live by a better book, the book of 950 pages that Donald Trump is going to put in place when he steps back into the office. Yes, so we're going to see, obviously, bad things, harmful things, harsh things coming from the other side in their last-ditch effort to try to, cross the finish line, the winners. And again, we'll probably have a lot more worries even about that. But all right, so gonna bring Eric back in for a few more minutes. He just showed back up. Eric, welcome back. I feel like this is part 3 to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
I was
just when I was getting good.
Yeah, and like I was telling the audience that is listening, wherever it's going, whoever's seeing this, whether it's daytime, nighttime, thank you for watching. I'm part of Studio 10 Broadcasting, 10 o'clock talks. And this is one of those shows, America Disclosing Uncensored. We're trying to come across to America to disclose some of the whole nature of everything of this war, of what we're going through right now. And I think we've covered a lot in good ways, but there's always time for more shows as well. So right now, what I want to do most important of all is let my guests have the platform again. Say what you want to say, talk about what you want to talk about. And I also want you to include anything that you have coming up, planned events. Let people know about them if you can, if they're within your mind, or I'll be able to post them for you in one of the 100 groups that I'm affiliated in.
Excellent, excellent. I don't know if you're close to Vegas in October, But of course, you're welcome to come with your wife. I'll get you guys in. Others people I can get you in for a discount of only $60. You donate to come in, and I can get you discounted tickets. It's several $100s, I guess, to get in. But it's alienevent.com and biomedexpo.com. In October, we have Brad Olson, Ancient Aliens, there. We have Carrie Cassidy, projectcamelot.org. We have a lot of other speakers. That Burke Sagnew, he's a wonderful friend of mine. Um, I I can't think of other people right now. Maybe Ishmael Perez and um, Geraldine Orozco. She's beautiful. Um, many nice speakers. A couple of my friends couldn't show up. I hope my friend Hans Dietrich shows up, who does the posters. Very interesting people, and then also the top research doctors in Biomed Expo. You're getting 2 for 1, um, uh, so you can attend both conferences. We keep them separate, the UFOs and the Biomed Expo, but you can go to both conferences, and we have a lot of vendors there with high tech equipment and quantum tensor scalar healing machines. We have my friend Paul selling saunas. Relax sauna is excellent. The people who have the cleanest blood are using these saunas every day, and I love using my sauna and taking baths in baking soda and sea salt and borax, and you can get a black light to see what comes out of you,
Yeah.
and look at yourself in the mirror with a black light to see what's happening, because we're being shedded upon, and it's in our foods and our clothes, and they're really trying their best to take us down and not wake up. But we're getting all these activations from the solar flares and the Schumann resonance, and we're getting activated. Our higher DNA is waking up, and we're gonna get more. Some people are gonna wake up and have all these powers, special powers, and it'll be a real marvelous Marvel, like Marvel superhero universe, a marvelous universe, and so they can't mess with us, and we're done. And this is it's and what happens here affects the rest of the universe, the multiverse. So everybody's looking forward for us to join. They've been waiting, and we're about to join the multiverse and learn about our star family connections and who we really are, and that we are divine beings and have souls and go to the celestial lands, because some people don't have souls, and they don't, when they die it's over. So
Yeah.
there's a lot coming out, and we're moving into a new paradigm, a new great shift into humanity and consciousness. It's a golden year, golden age so I really look forward, and of course we're going to have some scratching and fighting, and and they're going to make their last ditch effort, to, because they've been doing the wrong things, and not helping humanity, and there are people who are in service to themselves, and there are people who are in service to others, and there's really only two people, and really when you help other people, you're helping yourself, because at the highest level we're all one. And how can you eat when somebody is hungry looking at you? How can
Right.
you have a great life you know when people aren't? That's where the sharing comes in. You want, I share my food, I share my, even though I don't have whatever I have, I share. And even though it's the last of it or whatever, it's difficult not to help and be with other people.
You know,
So
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm going to
no,
play
go
Art
ahead.
Bell. I'm going to play Art Bell here.
I
Um,
love art. God bless art.
I love Art Bell. I love Uncle Art. I really do. I can't wait to do. And just for everybody, a little heads up there, everybody, and I'll probably forget what I was going to say. I probably already lost the train of thought. I'm going to be doing my yearly special on Art Bell. I have spooky matters and different stuff, because somebody's got to remember him more, and give him the recognition that he deserved. He did so much for us. He brought so many
Yeah.
special people to the platforms, opened the door for them, and introduced their books to people and the information. and everything. Just a fascinating individual, and I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know how I'm going to go exactly about it, but a lot of people that I've had on the show, even been on his show, maybe they'll come in, maybe they'll say hello, maybe I'll put something out there, and some people come in, say some nice things about him, and share of some of their experience with him while they were on the show with him. That would be fantastic. It's not like I want to do a marathon, a Jerry Lewis Labor Day marathon kind of thing. I just want to pay respect to a very beautiful
I'd love
man.
that. I'd love that. I'm all for it. I worked with him and love him, and I couldn't get into the other ones later that came after him that I don't want to say. And I've worked with those people too at conferences, and even written books that they put in their books. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I have something to
You
say
have been
too.
blessed with some amazing
Yeah, he was
people.
great.
Yeah, you've been blessed with a lot of amazing, intelligent people, beautiful people around you. I did want to ask you a question because I got Jim Goodall coming on with me. We're going to be talking
Oh,
about
good.
all the same type of scenario stuff. People are coming out where they want to help, they want to talk about things and whatnot, and he always was, from the time that we had our first introduction, most cheerful man and whatnot, just so kind, big heart, just like Brad. But he mentioned to me, and I don't know if this has something to do with you with UFOs, that Bob Lazar was going to be putting on a display in Las Vegas of something very unique and very special. Do you have any knowledge about that?
Wow, no, but I'm going to find out because
Element
I met Bob.
115.
Yeah,
Just
I
saying,
no, I haven't heard that. Thank you for saying that. I know Bob from the '80s. I met him before he was famous, and I talked to my boss, Joseph Akhtarzad. He's from Video and Audio Center on Wilshire Boulevard, the best place to buy video and audio equipment. And that was when he was on 6th Street. Now he's on like 14th or something in Brentwood. But he was in Santa Monica on 6th Street, which I lived on when I first moved to Santa Monica. And I worked for him. He was my best boss, a Jewish Iranian guy. And he knew I loved UFOs. And one night, and we kept meeting all these different UFO people. They'd come in and buy equipment, video and audio equipment. And so I talked him into staying open one night, and we had a UFO conference at the Video and Audio Center. It was just the speakers. We had George Adamski's wife, we had John Lear, and we had Bob Lazar, and we had a lot of people. Olmec, and some of two of her kids, I think, and it was great. And there's all these stacks of videos and audio, VCRs, and it was back then. So I met him and heard about Area 51 and was invited to go out to that mailbox and watch. And I tried to tell him it was radioactive out there, and I had friends warn me about people who work there getting sick and stuff from the radioactivity. But he told me about element 115 before it was an element, and it was like element 109 or 108.
Yeah.
And he said, you'll hear about it in the future, and talked about the antimatter propulsion, and talked about his hydrogen car he built, and how scared he was to release information. And actually, George Knapp asked me to talk to him, to come back out, to get him to speak again, when they were trying to get him to come out. But he was so scared, and said that, even made some comments that I don't think are true, that that they haven't, that really we haven't figured it all out and reverse engineered everything, but really it has been, and bullshit. They, but I remember he said, he gave me the compliment that I was like him, that I had that special energy that when we walk up to ships, they turn on, and that the other people, it wouldn't work for them, and they couldn't, the military guys, it wouldn't turn on, but when he walked up, it turned on for him. So yeah, it's wonderful that these people came out and took the risk to share all these things. But now it's a lot safer. My spirit guides at that time told me to lay low and not speak out, because they knew I would be killed. And when 2012 happened, they said, okay, now it's safe. You're in another time, in another reality, and it's different, and it's safe to go out and start speaking, So I did at 2013. So I know we're in a new safe, and this is disclosure time, and this is the year of disclosure. and it's all about to hit the fan. And then astrologically, many things are happening. So I think by November, I keep saying every weekend, I think this black swan event's going to happen. But just have extra food and be ready to rumble. What's going on, and watch them make their last ditch effort. Because I was friends with Carol Rosin in the '80s, and she told me everything she said happened, and she said the last thing would be the fake alien invasion. And that's where we're at right now.
Is that where
And
Stephen Greer got that from?
yep, that's where he got that from, Carol Rosin. And
Yeah.
Carol Rosin's awesome. Stephen Greer is a great guy. I didn't like him and at first, and really it's probably because it's what I didn't like about myself. He's a real a perfectionist like me, and just he's very finicky like me. Okay, so I think that it's a very good sign that when he's kicked out of people I don't like conferences, then it's and when he's working with people I love. Carol Rosin's awesome. She has a heart of gold, and she knew me, and I have a heart of gold, and she put me in her movie when we stopped to try to stop the weaponization of space that went out to all the world leaders. And she told me that, and I didn't believe her at first when she said that there were no bad aliens and they were all, but I understand her now and agree that there are no bad aliens. It's the bad ones are the ones who are here. we're the scary ones, the ones that are pretending to be our government and in charge. Those are the scary ones. And really, we've gotten rid of them. Okay, so it's a show to wake people up. So just sit back and don't get involved in the scary stuff that's going on. The military is going to take care of that on the street. The National Guard, the military is ready to go. This has been a military continuation of government and a takedown of the deep state communist, because our elections were infiltrated by communists, and it's all coming out. We have the servers from Frankfurt, and we have the blockchain ballots that were chipped. So to see where they were in real time, we know the exact real results, and and there was a Brunson case that's about to be released. The Brunson brothers, right, the brothers. Yeah. There were several cases filed. So, and they didn't want to make the announcement earlier because they didn't want us to think that we were doing a coup d'etat and the military is taking over. And see, the aliens can come and clean up everything, but we would degenerate back to where we were, because of we didn't appreciate it or change. So really, we have to be the change, and we have to wake up, and it has to set, when they clean it up, and we have to realize why and not make it dirty again, and live correctly, and, stop genetically modifying foods to change break the laws of God and mix plants and animal to change our DNA to make us non-human, where the Supreme Court changes the laws to say, okay, you're not human. You don't get the human rights anymore because you've been taken this and that and eaten that. These things are real. You look at them, it's real. It's happening. And so when you're a pioneer speaker many years ahead talking about these things, your label is crazy. But then when it happens, then you become a truther, and they say, wow, it became truth. And, so, I have to be patient.
You're absolutely right. I mean, on, how the theory behind the alien structure is of what we're taught. We're taught to, from the youngest points of life, because we live in America, every other country is our enemy, but yet I found by working in the world, I said this to 100 people on discussions, that, I've worked with different cultures, and we laughed, we broke bread, we went home, we went to different events that other coworkers or friends had, and we all got along. There was no structure to what they do. And as you brought up about that, no aliens are bad aliens. I'll just say this as part of the proof, as what you said. If they were so bad, they would have been here already, and it would have been like that whatever the hell his name is, movie. The 4th of July, Independence Day. We've never seen anything like that. The only time we would see something like that is if the people of this planet were the ones behind it, without a doubt. So if
Right.
there were bad aliens really out there, in all the years of our life that we all been here together, we'd have seen something more than just sightings. We're seeing, of course, probably some of theirs with a lot more of ours, of technologies that we have. The bad aliens are the ones, as you just said, here, because the good aliens are probably helping the consciousness come to a different form of a level. And I think that's one of the best ways to say proof is in the pudding right there, without a doubt, in my mind. Because if we were to have this type of an event, like Ronald Reagan said, would all the world countries come? I think the world countries are coming together, and I think people's minds are going to be about to be blown, because a lot of people in a lot of countries and a lot of people died because of this. Don't agree with this bullshit that we're of events that we have suffered through the last 10 years. Minimal. That's a short quote statement of it. But so how would I do as a presentator?
Oh yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, anytime you want to get on stage or work with
No, no, no,
us, you know,
no.
anything you
I'm
like
the
of
fly
mine.
on the wall. I'm the fly on the wall. I'm just saying, how would I do?
Oh, excellent, excellent. You're presenting it. You're bringing up excellent points. You know, but there still are some, you know, people that are, you know, people eaters. You know, that are drinking blood, and
Oh
you
yeah,
know, there are some still that are, you know, but they're being tracked. They tagged. What they did is they tricked them by tagging that stuff, and then they were able to trace it back to who. That's how they got them. And so because they were running out of their source, and you know, and that's why they weren't looking young so long anymore, but really they're all been replaced by mask wearing central casting. So you
and
know
that
this.
and that technology was initially created for the protection of presidents. That
Yeah.
happened under George Bush Sr.'s presidency, when he was even tricked by the person
Oh,
who
come
brought the
on.
mask in.
Come on, it don't you didn't you watch Mission Impossible in the 70s? Come on.
Well, no,
We've had this. They've
I
been
did.
doing masks for a long time, and the CIA works with Hollywood, you know, and because you know, that's the network, and you know, it's, and then they put their information in there, you know, so you have to be able to see what they're trying to push. You know, but I met all these producers. The guy was Iranian who produced the Mission Impossible, and I was friends with Peter Graves, and you know, they were all my grocery customers in Santa Monica. You know, and I loved that show, and it really taught us what was possible. You know,
Yeah.
um, it's a great, you know, James Arness was his brother from Gunsmoke. That was Robert Graves' brother. So, or what's
Well, I'll
his
be
name?
honest with you. I didn't know that. I'm not going
Yeah,
to joke with you. I heard about that on
and the
Mission
Norwegian. They
Impossible,
were
but I could
Norwegian.
never. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Because my
Um.
mom's Norwegian.
Oh, is
So
she?
yeah, so I talked to them about, you know, I talked to him, and I just, they told me they loved it when they went to Iran and they did a show there too. So, but you know, I love the new ones with Tom Cruise, the Mission Impossibles. But see, all these shows are really showing us what's possible, and everything is
Right.
possible what they're doing.
Yeah.
And there's a
Now
sting
we are at that
operation.
point.
Yeah.
Yes. Now we are very much at that point. But I was told about the Mission Impossible series showing something like that, but I could never find any type of where I could actually physically watch it to talk about it. So I only went from a verification that I knew about that took place actually in the White House. The same as if I would tell you that there was 6 UFOs that flew over the Pink House in China, just days before we had 2 visitations from a presence over our White House. So I go to the highest points of validation versus theoretical possibilities when I didn't see them myself, and said, wow, look what they did right on TV 45, 55 years ago. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I thank you for educating me on that. I appreciate it because I only thought it was a wise tale until now.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I'm open-minded and I'm always willing to, update or change. And, so, this is just, what I share, what I know now. I'm
Hmm.
just really excited about everything finally coming out. I've been waiting my whole life for these kind of things and talking about these things. So I'm seeing a quickening, things happening much faster, and people waking up and tearing apart fake news right away as it happens. I mean, before I would have to wait like several days or even up to a week or a month or a year for people to realize, that the false flag operations and following the money and seeing the players, the same old cast of characters doing the same operations, because I helped train these people in martial arts, and I knew them, because I made the videos and sent it to their houses, so I knew who these people were and had their addresses, and and so knew their names and remembered them from saying, "Don't film me with my top of my head's bald," and they spray painted with this black shit so the hair doesn't show. I remember all these things, and I'm telling you, we've been played, and everything is not what it seems, and we're going to see the whole. Everything is coming out into the open. The veil has been removed, and we're going to see behind the curtain. Who's pulling the strings and what's been happening, and we're going to follow the money and put it all together, and it's going to be wonderful because we're all going to be taken care of finally, and everybody's going to have enough money to not worry, and there's going to be people doing the things that need to be done, but there's going to be a lot of automation too, and a lot of help from the military with the food and energy and whatever. But I think we're going to go through a okay transition, and people are excited all this new stuff, and I can't wait because it's really terrible to see people suffering, with their houses, up for foreclosure or living on the streets and not getting the meals every day. It's terrible to see people pulling their pants down and defecating in the gutters, and we become a third world country, and it's really terrible to see my country become a third world country,
Our
and
leadership has been a failure forever. And, you're not wrong on anything you're saying because I witnessed this, but I also, this is not just something that I've witnessed now in the present. I witnessed this 10, 15 years ago. I mean, and I will say roughly around 8 years ago, I was working with a very wealthy family in a place where we had a commonality of services that we did. And I found bodies, I found people defecating, just as you said, things like that. And I'll say it was church related. I'm not going to deny that part. It was truly like that. I had to call ambulance for people, overdoses for people, find people naked in church or churches,
right.
And I mean, these things were things because the negativity of how our government was and why they wouldn't address the things they didn't want to address to make our country better. It was because it was purposeful, planned to be like this and take us into a future of darkness and negativity. And we have the opportunity for light. And here he is, Eric the Healer, a man with many ideas, rubs elbow with a lot of fantastic people. I was kind of lucky in life that way. I had a lot of movie experience, to be honest with you, being on set. And once you're behind scenes, you'll never look at a movie the same way twice. And that's basically what we're describing to you here. That is how everything works. Because when you're behind scenes watching it all, and then you're in front of the scenes, that's the false narrative of a lot. Even though if it has a factual source of information to it, by like what we talk about, but if you take the end result and put it upon the making of the result, it's like you wouldn't even think it exists the same. But it does, But I love Powers Booth. Boy, did he give me a hard time one time. Just a quick story here. He came up to me And I don't even know why he picked me. People just come to me like magnets. Animals do too. A lot of deer, squirrels, birds. It's
Wow.
I can't even answer why this energy of
Hmm.
connection happens. And it happened just minutes before we went on set. There was right at my window, looking in my window was like a 10-point buck. I kid you not. And it's looking at
Wow.
me. And I was actually thinking I should turn around the camera and put it on him, but I didn't do it. But nevertheless, here I am babbling. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of people. Empire's Booth was one of them. Why he approached me, I don't know. And the first thing he says to me, "Hey, kid," and I'm like, "Hey," because I didn't know. I'm on set for a week. I don't know who everybody is yet. And he says, "Do you ever watch the movie Tombstone?" And I'm like, "No." He says, "Do you know what Tombstone is?" Or something like that. And I'm like lost. I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. Domino's has a pizza called Tombstone now." Yeah, yeah. I haven't had one. He said, "No, you dumbass. Do you know about the movie?" And I was like, not sure. He said, "Well, I was in it. I played a part in it. You're in this movie here." He said, "Do you realize what I'm talking about?" I was like, "No." He said, "I'll tell you what." He says, "You promised me you'll rent this movie and I'll meet you back here on Monday. Get it over the weekend." So I go home and I say, "Hey, we're watching a movie this weekend." And I get the movie and it was Tombstone. It was pretty radical. And he did fascinating as an actor. He was fascinating in this. I think it should be put on one of the best in history. To be honest with you, if you're into the Wild West and all that thing in that category, it should be up there at the top pinnacle, without a doubt. And when I went back, he chewed my ass. He says, "Did you learn anything from me?" And I was like, "Yeah, how to act."
Yeah, that's great.
And then he applauded that. We sat down, we had lunch. The what do we craft services and cookery truck was there, and all that stuff. It was a good laugh. John Claude, worst guy I ever met in my life. Worst guy I ever met in my life. Couldn't even get him out of the trailer to come and shoot a scene. You'd be standing against the equipment, and falling asleep, and then finally he'd come out, and everybody had to wake the F up. Like, oh, God, the creator's here, you know, worst guy I ever met in my life, honest to God. But a lot of good people, too. A lot of good people. And when, we hear about a lot of these things, I didn't witness a lot of what gets talked about. I don't know if I was just blessed to be in certain places and not to see it. But you know how a lot of people talk about that other
Yes.
subject matter. I never witnessed anything like that, except for the fact that they're a bunch of flirtatious Californians, man. They come into different cities to shoot movies and have a great time and boy, can they drink.
Yeah.
Boy, can they drink. So anyway, look, we're going on like almost 2 hours. I'm going to
Oh,
give
wow.
you I'm not giving you a final farewell. I'm going to say we're going to have to do this again. So why don't you tell everybody once again where you are, what's going on, because you're going to be in Vegas. We kind of already know what to expect, but why don't you rehash that for us before we X ourselves off?
Yeah, please check out alienevent.com and see if it's something that you want to check out. Also, Biomed Expo. If you're in Vegas, what I like to do is suggest to people that go to maybe stay at the Hilton or the Holiday Inn and do listen to a 2-hour lecture of time travel, or not time travel, timeshare, timeshare lecture, and then you get a free 3-day stay, and then you can work that in. I think you can only do that like 3 times, but you can also go to Holiday Inn and also get 3 days free, and stay, and then travel to our Alexis Park is where we're staying. Alexis Park, I think it's 375 East Harmon, and it's in Vegas. It's right across the street from the Hard Rock Cafe. They just remodeled it. It's real beautiful, and we have nice dinners that you have to pay for actually to sit with the speakers. But you can come in and get a discount and stay at that hotel too. The Alexis Park. Make sure you're mentioning you're coming to the conference. But it's alienevent.com and biomedexpo.com. And I'll be running the panels for the Biomed with the doctors, and Brad Olson will be running the panels for the alien event side. and I'll be speaking also on the alien event side, more about time travel and people I've met and what I think is happening. That there's a sting operation bringing down the deep state, and we're about to see, the continuation of government, and learn more about this Operation Charlie and Operation Odin and all the things that they've been doing, cleaning up this mess, because we were attacked and we're under war. We were attacked by communists, and we're under a secret war with the communist China. But we love the People's Republic of China, and we love the Republic of America. We have a new republic, and Trump is really the 19th president, and his vice president is already John F. Kennedy Jr. And I think he's already admitted that this, and I think that he might, Vance will be dropping down, and we'll see Kennedy stepping in, and I think that Kamala's a placeholder, and even though he's an anchor baby, they have to remove, and it's just a placeholder. I think. I'm not sure what they're going to do. We'll see soon. Maybe they make this Kamala president, for a short while, but it's not going to last long, before the election. And I don't think there'll be an election. So I think everything's going to be speeding up and hitting the fan soon. So, we'll find out. But I've been saying this every week for 4 years. So who knows how long it's going to take. I could be wrong again.
You're not alone. I mean, even Charlie has said, and Jim Sparks, and Mel K, Michael Jaco, a lot's been said. A lot of things have been promised in ways, and a lot of people lost a little bit of faith in some, especially when they see them standing so strong, in many ways. I personally am trying to stay objectively in the middle, so I have respect and hopefully more current discussions, right. Because we don't all have to agree to disagree to enjoy a good debate, a conversation. That's what gives us strength, and I think as long as we're all at that academically, it's better than liberal arts in the colleges. Look what they taught to those kids that destroyed America. They went around, they knew how they wanted their artwork to look on the streets. They knew what they wanted to be pulled down. And that was the cause and effect of one of the scenarios of what we've seen. As you said, we are being, attacked by a communism in our own country, and taught and imposed upon the young college students and more of different faculties of ages and generations, to get ahead of us. And it's shameful. And I really, with all my spirit and energy, I ask the universe to protect us, guide us, and help us win, because I'm not going to point a finger or use names to anybody, because it seems today, no matter what you say, people judge you. So that's the easiest way I can say. But I do want to thank everybody for joining in tonight. I hope you guys loved Eric. I did from the minute he contacted me and we started to talk, and it was like, oh my God, you're you're the conspiracy theorist brother from another mother that I need to have on my side here, because I was that. Look, there was once upon a time, I was in a place of a uniqueness that some people strive to get to, and they pulled my zipper down and said, no, no, no. And they got rid of me. They embarrassed me. They got rid of me, and they made me start over. So, it's a comeback, and it's been a struggle, and it's been also like walking on glass. Do I start saying this to this whole new different communities because they were used to you in one place, and then you're suddenly in a new place trying to continue for the betterment of our children, for the betterment of mankind, for what our forefathers thought they were fighting for? And not to hear that we won the war. Think of it that way. You may have lost a family member, but we won the war, and you were lied to. We won nothing. Not really. When you add it all up, what did we get from it? Nothing. We got more slavery. But Anyway,
That's what we can talk about next time is how the Germans won the war and they really
yeah,
came to America and became the three-letter agencies. And we'll talk about mind
Catholics
control,
in action.
MK Ultra, and
Yeah,
and all the things. But for the people that have listened this far, and I like them to get a paper and pencil, and I like to just give them my resources and what I listen to and where I get my information. I love listening to Derek Johnson. Derek Johnson is giving the proofs. Okay, so in mathematics you have proofs which prove the everything. Okay, so the proofs are from Derek Johnson. Rattle Trap 1776. Then you have every day I love listening to Mary of We the People. If you go to We the People on rumble.com, you can go rumble.com/small c/capital M Mary. Okay, and that'll take you to all her shows. I listen to every day. So after I get off here in about an hour, she's going to have the new show. And then I also listen right now. I'd be listening to Dave, X22 Reports. I really love Dave. He gives another view. Sometimes I don't agree with everything he says, but because he talks about Israel differently sometimes, but I do love his work and what he shares. So and enough to listen to him every day. So I love Dave too. And then I like just looking at Santa Surfing of Beach Broadcast News. And she doesn't do a show every day. She does it maybe one a week or so. But I love her spunk and personality. But then I also love to listen to Tarot by Janine and Tarot by Janine channel, and also Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic. He's wonderful that Janine is on. I met Janine with Michael Jaco when they came to our Vegas show, and Janine is extra special. I love her. She's been doing tarot for 30 years, and she did my tarot. She's right on the money. She's really great. So I like getting my information. There's a Meg Moonbeam I really like. She's a Scorpio like me, and I like listening to her every day on that same Jean-Claude Beyond Mystic channel at rumble.com. And the other things I like to listen to basically are like just every now and then Charlie Ward and Pascal Najadi and I already said Derek Johnson, and what else? Anyway, those are just a few of the basics that I
that's
listen
a lot
to.
of. But you know
That's a
what?
lot of information. Yes. I
Yeah.
like Rumor Mill News. That Judy Byington is rumormillnews.com. And that's what Mary is reading, but she also has the best of everything. So it's not just that, it's the great TikTok videos and other things. And, it's always a pleasure to just listen to, what they share. So I wanted to gift that to the people who have listened to us this far. And thank you so much to you for having me on and being interested and letting me talk. And hopefully we won't get any strikes. I love Facebook, but they always have me on probation forever.
It's
And
it's gonna go out to more than just it's not gonna be localized. It's gonna hit the platforms where people are gonna listen. I'm
That's
sure it's
great.
gonna be fine. I can't wait to do this with you again. But
I look forward.
there is one guy you don't listen to. That's me. And I wanna. How do I
I
get you?
will. We
How do I
both didn't know
convince
each
you to
other.
start listening to? I'm not saying I'm the voice of America, but I'm one of the guys who will help America the best I can, as long as I'm helping everybody else's voice work.
Well, that's how we met. You were interviewing my friend Brian Sang, and then I saw you interview my friend Brad Olson, and then my friend Billy Carson, and my friend Brooks Agnew. And so I said, "Wow, this guy's good. I got to listen to this guy." So that's how we meet people, and I think it's so funny that we both didn't know each other, and
Yeah.
we have a lot in common, and it's just it's funny and it's
I get
great.
you in trouble if I came to Vegas.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I roll with the punches, so it's
Yeah.
all good.
I
I've been
was
through everything.
just recently I was mistaken for Brad Olson. Somebody looked at me and said, "Are you Brad Olson?" I mean, now look, I'm in just a localized area in Pittsburgh. I'm in the store, and this guy
How
can hear
tall are
me.
you? How tall are
I'm
you?
not as big as the giant, but my heart's as big.
I
Me, I'm
have
about
several
6'1".
pictures. I have several pictures with Brad, and I'm like I'm looking up to him like this, you know.
He's a tall fella.
And I have a picture of him sitting where I'm sitting right now in my couch too.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, I skied with him last season. I skied with him at Kirkwood. You know, he's a good skier.
Yeah, it's funny. As big as he is, as tall. I mean, you normally don't
Yeah.
see a lot of tall people. Now, me, I'm shorter, and I won't put skis on. I tried it a couple times. I'm from near a resort where they make their own snow. Yes,
Wow.
people do. There is such thing as a fake snow, a modified version of it that the Praise came up with and sold it to all the a lot of we'll say a lot of the ski resorts and so forth.
Yeah, they all make snow. They all make snow.
Yeah, so but when you tell people that you can't make weather, that there's the impossible, no, it's not like that. So I want that's something else we can talk about the next time.
Yes, because now you can call up and order sunlight at night.
Yeah.
You can actually call up and order sunlight and have sunlight delivered to you at night at your event.
Isn't that pretty outstanding?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Wow, was that the China sun?
You know, there's a sun simulator from China and there's a sun simulator from NASA. I think it's connected to everyone. They're all, you know, it bounces off. There's many different satellites that bounce and shoot mirrors, you know,
right.
Reflect the light back down to where you are.
I want to do that. I want to talk to you about that. That's some things I'd like that.
Yeah,
there.
I look for the site. I look for the website. I've seen it a couple times already. The advertisement.
Well, I know that they have the capability. I just never, you know. We'll wait on that. We'll talk. It's been great.
It'll be enlightening.
Yeah. It's been great having you. Thank you, my friend. I
really
do appreciate it, Eric.
Feelings mutual. Thank you very much.
You're a rock star.
All right.
Appreciate you too. Have a great night. And for everybody out there that stayed with us, just as my friend Eric said, thanks for doing that. If you can like and share, appreciate it. If you're not seeing this yet and you're going to, and you watch to the end, I ask the same of you. You know, help us get the word out. Help us to help people understand what the event is, as we are all putting it together the best we can. I love you all. From America in Crisis, America Disclosing, Studio 10 Broadcasting in Pittsburgh, I'm Michael Anthony. Hope to see you next time. I'll be on the 5th with Jim Goodall. Don't miss that. I promise you it will be exciting. Have a great night, everybody.